Hello everybody, welcome to St George, the YouTube channel where we look at a piece of contemporary advertising, dissect it, ask ourselves, is it any good? Is it actually a piece of advertising? And if it isn't, how can we make it a little bit better? This week it's an epic, either a poison chalice or a dream brief, the John Lewis UK Christmas TV commercial. With a 2-minute running time, the spot was directed by Francois Ruffalais, created by Saatchi & Saatchi in London, and stars Margaret Clooney, best known for her role in Victoria. As you'd expect with a John Lewis Christmas ad, there is a famous soundtrack to it. This year, it's The Verve's Sonnet, sung by Richard Ashcroft. Now, rather than run the whole thing, I'm going to assume that you have already seen it. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop every so often and I'll give you a little bit of feedback on what I'm thinking and how we're doing. Okay, brace yourselves. John Lewis, UK, Christmas ad 2024, The Gifting, here we go. The beginning is definitely intriguing. A woman is rummaging in the shelves of John Lewis for clothes and there's 15 minutes before the shop shuts. And then Narnia-esque, who doesn't love a little bit of Narnia, she goes through the clothing and she's into another world. She's arrived in a bedroom, there's a trunk, she opens it, and in there it says sisters, and there's a little girl in the room, so it's pretty clear that they probably aren't sisters. And the little girl wants to know why she's looking at the trunk, what she's looking for, and she's looking for a present, but she's not going to find it there. Then we're back in a house, and there's stuff going on. She walks downstairs. For some inexplicable reason, there's pictures appearing on the wall. She gets into another room and there's a woman roughly her age who's pregnant. She's worried, but she reassures the woman. And it's like at this point that we realise, oh, she kind of can see the future. And it's intriguing. And that's actually my favourite part of the whole commercial. There's now a few more sequences where Margaret is interacting with a younger woman, a teenager, and they're having some kind of fight. It feels a little bit more sisterly now, and we're getting that clue from the beginning that this is something to do with sisters. We're now into some kind of dream sequence where she's at a party which she wasn't expected to show up to, and then somehow they're ice skating and rooms are turning into rooms and indoors is outdoors, the weather's inside as well as outside. So we're kind of in some strange alternative universe, probably the best way that I can describe this one. The final sequence is she's on the couch with a little girl. The little girl whispers in her ear. It's a magical moment. She has an idea and then she runs out of the house. She gets to John Lewis. She's got a gift in her hand. She gives it to a woman outside John Lewis. He says, "What took you?" And the answer is, "You did." Now, I won't lie, I am a massive fan of John Lewis ads, and I'm generally a massive fan of ads that are populist. It's often been a bit of a trend to be dark or edgy or somehow subversive with advertising, but I think just doing stuff that people love is always in fashion. And John Lewis have done this in spades over the years. And they have single-handedly created the tradition of fabulous Christmas advertising, and you've got to love them for that, if nothing else. So, is Gifting a classic? It's long, and I wonder, is it a little bit too long? The tendency when you have a lot of time is you do try and pack a lot in, and I wonder whether a simpler message over a shorter time span might have hit a little bit harder. It's also extremely busy. There's an awful lot of stuff going on, and it can be quite hard to keep track of actually what is happening in this commercial. I've watched it 6 times now and I'm getting that there's something to do with sisters and there's something to do with the lead character revisiting her past and somehow working out what the ideal gift is to give to her sister, who I'm guessing is the child in one of the opening scenes. It's also very hard to create emotion in a piece of advertising that really has so much in it. For me, less is more, so perhaps if they'd just taken one element of the story and run with it, then people would have got behind it. And 2 minutes is actually quite a long time to tell a very simple story. 2 minutes to tell someone's entire lifetime is no time at all. Consequently, you rattle through it and you miss bits. Even when you go back and try and look at it again, you're not quite making the connections. Also, the complexity of all the scene changes, the weather indoors and the rooms becoming rooms and the time shifts. I worry whether the British public will be a little bit lost with this one. One of my favourite John Lewis commercials was The Bear and the Rabbit. This was such a simple story. A bear hibernates through the winter, he's going to miss Christmas, his friend the rabbit buys him an alarm clock from John Lewis. It's so simple. That's a story that you could tell in 15, 20 seconds, you could tell it in a minute, you could tell it beautifully in 2. On the plus side, this ad is beautiful. You can really take any few sequences from it and make a much shorter commercial, and it just feels Christmassy. The music is great, I love the verb, and it's really nicely acted too. I mentioned earlier that my favourite part of the ad was the pregnant mother who was concerned and naturally anxious about the birth of her child and being reassured by somebody coming back from the future telling her it was all okay. Now I know that it probably wouldn't work in the context of this ad, but this is the kind of moment that I think could be so powerful if given time to. Just take one thing that resonates with your audience, something that a lot of people watching will have been through, and take that and put that front and centre, and then weave in your story about how John Lewis gifting can work around that. My lesson from watching the John Lewis UK Christmas ad 2024 is definitely less is more. If you're an advertising student or junior, try not to be over ambitious with packing everything you can into the time length that you've got. Give it a little bit of space, pick one beautiful idea, one poignant moment, and let that one breathe. You've been watching St. George. Please do subscribe and see you next time.